Let's get right to it, Chevra. We have something powerful today, very, very strong. Let's get right to it. It's crucial, and you're all gonna hate me. So you're gonna love me, but you're gonna hate me, and then you're gonna love me. The month of Shvat, it continues to be sponsored by the Pollock's, the Elin Nishma Shimon ben Moshe, Tzvi ben Mordechai, and Shir Rachma Bas Rav Alter Nosson Nata, and for the Zivuk for Daniela Chana Bas Sarah Libby, and the Elin Nishma Sarah Bas Moshe B'Chaya, in honor of Dalia or Liv's 50th Aliyah anniversary, and the Elin Nishma's Pnina Bas Yisrael B'Rivka, Yaakov Yisrael ben Yisachar. I also want to just give a big shout out and really Baruch, you were right. And a big shout out to my sister sent me the stats of the Chaver that learn with us in the countries that people are learning with us, and it wasn't like Israel, America, Canada. It was a lot of different countries, and it warms the heart. And everyone that's learning with us online, we do feel like you're part of this Chabura. Subscribe, join, tune in more. It's all available. It's not meant to just be for us sitting here in Efrat. It's meant to be for the whole world. So Ashreichem, and I get a lot of koyach from everyone's comments and everyone's feedback. We are gonna today see the next level of the Tikkun Medina based on Nefesh, Ruach, Neshama, Chaya, and Yechida. Right now we're on Daf Lamed Zayin. We already covered the first one, the first level of how we're experiencing the Tikkun of the Medina through Nefesh. And the first thing that Rav Ginsburg taught us is that one must have the ability to recognize in front of them when there seems to be a zilzul in archei Yahadut, when there seems to be that basic concepts in Yiddishkeit are mizalzelim bahem, which means they are, the right word was like belittled and not taken into consideration. Azriel, how would you say mizilzul in English? Mizalzel. Or mizalzel ba? Disgraced, yeah. Busha, like not taken seriously at all, but lahefech, not just not taken seriously. To cheapen, very good. So Rav Ginsburg taught us that the most important thing is to recognize that darkness and not lefached, not to have fear from the fact that it exists. Rather, look at those things as indicators to something. And to be able to do this in a way without fear and anxiety when you notice the darkness that's in front of you, if you do it like that, then despair and sadness won't be the results of taking a look at that darkness. See what happens to us, Chevra. Open your hearts. This is like more heart stuff than head stuff right now. So quite often I choose to ignore certain blemishes that I know are right in front of me because I'm under the assumption that when I look at them, they're just going to make me sad and make me feel like I'm full of despair. That happens quite often. And with a lot of things in our life, we don't choose to look at them because I know that I need to look at it, but what will happen to me? I'll go into Yeush, I'll go into Atzvus.
Stuff inside of you or outside?
Well, both. But it starts really, this is usually in me, אני מתעלם מזה כי אני יודע שזה הביא אותי לידי עצבות. אבל זה גם כן מבחוץ. Same thing on the outside. Like, happens to me quite often that like, I know sometimes that if I go and hang out with someone, if those days don't really happen that often, like hanging out with someone, right? But if it happens to be somehow I spend time with somebody there, but I already know lechatchila that what I'm going to see, certain things are going to really make me uncomfortable, then what happens to me if I don't address, if I do it from a place of fear, I'm already like in sadness and despair. But if I realize that what Hashem is exposing me to, there's a nekuda of or in there that I'm supposed to extract from it, then the way that I look at it, I'm not looking at it with fear. And last week, the shir that we were speaking about was that so much of our identity here is fear-driven. We were speaking about this a lot. Pachad, behala, anxiety, tension. That's not the way to approach anything in life. Bifrat, when it comes to the thing that needs the most level of really of tikkunim, of fixing. Listen, in our marriages, everyone that needs a zivug should find their zivug, and anyone that found their zivug should realize they have their zivug and what that means to them in life. But there's so many areas in life in our marriages where like whatever. I'm not gonna look that way. Why? Because if I look too close at what that is, it'll just bring fear into the bigger picture of like, oh my God, is this really my life? Is this really what I have? But if I'm able to realize that Hashem puts in front of me, whatever Hashem puts in front of me, there's a kernel of light in there, then I can look at what I'm trying to usually avoid. I could look at it, bli pachad, without pachad. Now, when we look at Am Yisrael and Eretz Yisrael, bifrat, when we look at the leadership of Eretz Yisrael and Am Yisrael, sometimes you don't want to look. You just don't want to look. It's too. Yesterday I was saying an interview about the former head of the Shabak, who then became one of the heads of one of the political parties, who admitted that he lied from the beginning of his professional career about ever doing the army. He never did the army. But he's been saying for 47 years that he was in Tzanchanim and Shiryon. And the interviewer was speaking about the fact, like, wow, how'd you be able to, hold on to that? Exactly. Meaning those things could put fear in me and be like, how could this person that lied about he never went to the army, but he had amazing stories, even in his autobiography, about how he broke his leg, so he was never in the army, and he ended up being the head of the Shabak.
You gotta respect that.
So that's what the interviewer was like, wow, how did you hold on to...
That's why he's in the Shabbat.
Right.
That's the whole point, he's a liar.
That's the light.
So why don't I look at that? Because I look at that too much in the face. I'm like, is anything here real? Is anything here real? Is there any good? Is anything here really happening? Is anything here? These things can put fear into a person. Mamash, infuse it, put a certain pachad in us. That, he said, is the beginning of the Tikkun Medina on the level of nefesh. Now, but the level of ruach, this is something else, and this is going to relate very much to something that happened this week. So let's look inside. We're on Daf Lamed Zayin, the second paragraph. Are there any extra copies here of the pages? There's over there, no? By Yeshua, you have two?
No, I have one.
Oh, you have one. Is that extra? Okay. It's very important to see this inside. Also, there's a footnote here that we have to see. So if you put, I'll tell you when to look at it. But there's a very, you okay? Okay.
I hope so.
Aleinu lehavin. עלינו להבין שהאפלה שבחוץ משקפת את החושך הפנימי שבנו, המתבטא בעיקר בגאווה. This is very important. We must understand that the external darkness that we're surrounded by is a reflection of the inner darkness that we have, which is, where does the inner darkness usually express itself? Through gaiva, pride. התורה מתארת את ביטוי הגאווה המסוכנת בפסוק, כוחי ועוצם ידי עשה לי את החיל הזה. Like how the Tanakh, in the Tanakh, no, it's not in the Tanakh, the Parshas Devarim, it's Sefer Devarim, a person that comes to the conclusion of it's my strength that did for me this thing, is one of the most dangerous places a person can get to when it comes to anything, but especially when it comes to dealing with Dvarim Shebikdusha and attributing the success to yourself and to your manpower. Now, in a nutshell, that really describes a lot of what's been happening here from the beginning. You have people at very high levels, high rankings, that no one ever showed them how it may seem like it's your strength, but it's your strength only because Hashem gave you the strength to be so victorious and so godly and so tuned into, Jewish destiny and everything. But kochi ve'otzim yadi asa et hachayil hazeh, that it's me and my work, my avodah, look what I did, look what I conquered, is one of the most dangerous klipas that we have. This inyan of gaiva. B'matnat Hashem anu zochim le'esagim niflaim. Only because the gift of God we have merited such amazing, wondrous accomplishments. והגאווה שבזקיפת הישגים אלו למעשה אנוש ותחבלותיו Mastira et gilui or Hashem. What conceals the revelation of the light of God? That it is man's power and strength and wisdom that brought it about. Ve'achra'it mimela al kol ha'choshech ve'haroa shemisvivenu shemekoram be'ester zeh. So Rav Ginsburg is putting us to the challenge right now. He's saying, when you look out and you see darkness, you have to first understand it's a reflection of what's going on inside of you. What generally causes darkness to be to exist in the greatest of ways? Gaiva. Pride. Not holy pride. Unholy pride. Now, if you look in the back of the Sefer right now, it's on daf. It's on daf Kuf Mem Aleph. If you see the footnote there, I'll read it outside for those that don't have the Sefer. And if there's already 2 people that asked me for more Sfarim. If anyone else wants another Sefer, because we'll be with this for a while, like there's no Inyan to not have this Sefer. It's 40 shekel, and if you can't afford it, text me and don't worry, we'll cover it. But whoever wants a Sefer, let me know. Okay, there's an Inyan. It's good. Because the footnotes, it's just hard for me to keep on doing all the different photocopies. I'm trying to keep up with it, but the Chevra and the Shul are like, you go through toner like it's no one's business. It's like, Baruch Hashem, it's good problems to have, but tell me if you want a Sefer, B'kitzur. Kuf Mem Aleph, you see on the footnote, Ot Chav Bet, footnote 22. HaRebbe Hisbir Besichas Parshas Toldos Tafshin Lamed Daled. The Lubavitcher Rebbe, in Parshas Toldos Tafshin Lamed Daled, that's November 1973. He says like this, Shetoda'at HaGe'ava Shel Kochi Ve'otzem Yadi Otemet et Einei Manigut HaTzibur. This consciousness of Gaiva, of its look what we did, it actually seals shut the eyes of the leaders of the tzibur. ומביאה לכך שהשיח הפוליטי והתקשורתי בארץ נעדר כמעט לחלוטין גילויים של הכרת טובה להשם יתברך על הניסים הגדולים שעשה ועושה לנו במלחמתנו ובקיומנו היומיומי. This shutting of the eyes that happens to the leaders of our generation, which comes from the awareness of, from the consciousness of, it's me, look what I did, it also brings to the notion of that the political talk and the tikshorti, even in the media, all talk. What's ne'edar from it? What's missing from it? All the huge revelations of saying thank you to Hashem. For all the revealed miracles, all the huge miracles that Hashem has done and does for us in all of our wars and in our existence on a daily basis. Gaiva basically is not just that it's a yucky trait, but that it conceals, it covers over what needs to be heard more than anything. What needs to be heard more than anything, even right now in Gaza? The nisim beniflos that are happening. So, right, if we stop for a second, Toby brought someone to this, someone incredible to the office this last week. Have you guys heard of this guy, Shai Kala?
Just started following him about a month ago.
It's crazy. He came to the office on Wednesday or something. A very special guy. And he came with someone. And the guy said, I'm so excited right now. I said, why are you so excited? He's like, I am collecting all of the absolute craziest, hugest miracles that are taking place in Gaza right now that we just don't have kalim to focus on because we're still so much in our pain and trauma about what happened. But what we really don't understand are the nisim veniflos that are taking place every single second there.
She came to me with something similar.
So there's so much going on right now that because of kochi ve'otzem yadi, which brings us to gaiva, meaning look what I did, it is me and my strength. Paro's the master of that. Li oriva vesitani. Paro's the master of this. This is all coming from the dark side. Gaiva is generally is the indicator that what I see outside, the darkness that I see outside, Rav Ginsburg says it's really a reflection of what's going on, the choshech that's happening inside of me, which is generated by Gaiva, by a lack of humility. Now, he continues here. There's a very important nekuda to get to. Yediat machala hi chetzi refuah. We always know that. Knowing what the illness is only half. You could say only, is halfway to getting to the healing. כשאנו מצליחים להגדיר את החולי בתוך תחומו, אנו מכינים בכך מקום לאור המרפא. When we're able to identify and to define what the illness is in its area, what we're able to do at that point is to provide a space for healing light. ככל שגוברת בתוכנו המודעות לכך שהשם הוא המניע את המציאות, the more that we have inside of us the awareness and consciousness that it is God that is driving the reality that we see before us, ובכוחו בלבד נוכל להצליח במאמצינו, and only through Hashem's might and strength can we be victorious in all of our efforts. הולכים ניצוצות האור וחודרים אל תוך מציאותנו. Those sparks of light begin to infiltrate into our reality. מעט מעט מתעוררת בנו התקווה שסוף כל סוף המציאות כולה תומתק ותואר. Slowly, slowly, little by little, there's some kind of a tikva, there's some kind of hope that awakens within us that at the end, the whole reality will be that all bitterness will be sweetened to light. הנפש מתחילה לחוש את התגשמות הנבואה. העם ההולכים בחושך ראו אור גדול. יושבי בארץ צלמוות אור נוגה עליהם. This is from Yeshaya Navi. He says over here a beautiful thing. This pasuk is amazing. Look what the pasuk says. Ha'am ha'olchim b'choshech, the nation that's walking in darkness, ra'u or gadol. They see a great light. It doesn't say they got out of the darkness. It says while they're in a place of darkness, they see a great light. Yoshvei ba'aretz salmavet or naga alehem. Zot omeret, I can be in a place where I realize that my gaiva has prevented me from allowing light to enter into me, but just the fact that I know that already brings me tremendous light in my life. Do you understand? Not so much?
Space for it, yeah.
It makes exactly, it provides space. It gives space for it. The opposite, though, is horrible. The opposite is when I think I have to continue kechol ha'amim, which is what? Strong, physical strength, smarts. I'll outsmart the enemy, and eventually I'll get there. God in the picture, not if someone wants to have a God attack and say it's about Hashem, that's great, but that's not the pulse. That's not the pulse. And we still see, and please forgive me for saying this, is that we still, even though we're seeing less of it, but there's still this voice of Leman Ha'am Uleman HaMedina. That's what people fight for. Leman Ha'am Uleman HaMedina. For the sake of the nation, for the sake of the people. But you could say those two statements when you're fighting any war on behalf of any nation or any country. And it would still be shaykh. Listen, and I don't want to say names of whatever, there's so many places I could choose right now that I would say, I don't want to say names of like Talmudic places, but like, I don't know, what's like a nice neutral country right now then? Switzerland? Okay, a Swiss soldier goes to fight for the Swiss, I don't know, whatever, for the sake of the restoration of all the holy cheese or whatever, chocolates in the world, right? And I'm fighting this Leman Ha'am u Leman HaMedina. So those words make sense also there, right? But to be able to say Leman Ha'aretz, Leman HaMedina, Uleman Shmo Be'ahava, that's all it is. Menachem Katz showed me yesterday, and I saw it on Yaakov Ehrlich's also. Everyone's having these patches on like Beit HaMikdash, and some of the chaver walking around with Leman Shmo Be'ahava. To me, that's the victory. No, that's the victory. That's everything.
Everybody that I give it to rips off their army one, throws it away, and puts this on.
Because a Jewish army. That's a Jewish army. The other one is this nationalistic / Israeli army that is still looking for its zehut, its identity. Our identity is actually be'emet al pi Chassidus, anava. Anava, humility, is the only way for the light, consciousness of light to begin to find its way inside. But it's very, very hard for that to go into a society that has removed that to a certain extent from the consciousness of how we've been so victorious, especially in the early years. But let's admit it. How victorious have we actually been in the last 50 years? We grew up on this fact, like, look at us, these giborim, there's no army like this. How victorious have we really been since we started thinking too much about ourselves? 1948, 67, there was no, it was so me'ala teva, no one could think about themselves too much. The Gilui or Hashem behind it was so bright. But ever since, like the Rebbe was saying in 1973, that I remove the talk about being a godly, miraculous nature of being, from that moment, what ends up happening? Chasima, it's atima, sealed, shut, darkness. Gaiva does not allow the light of what's truly happening to play any kind of role in my mind and in my life. So you're all thinking now about chilonim. But we already spoke about that the most painful thing for me, watching the conference that you guys were at on Sunday night, was the fact that there was like one main word that wasn't mentioned or spoken about. Hashem. And that makes me more dangerous about the current situation than anything that's happening from the left. Because and you spoke about this when you were at the, what was it, like two or three weeks ago at the Sovereignty Conference. You brought it up. A big tzaddik came into, I was also in the, Baruch Hashem, been blessed to have a lot of really amazing people coming in and out lately. A big tzaddik came in here Monday and definitely believes in, Eretz Yisrael Shlema and all of that, 100%. And he said, he said, they missed it again. They missed the chance again. I said, what are you talking about? He's like, the conference that was on Sunday. He said, they missed it again. I said, why? He's like, because when you speak about the real things in life with godly consciousness, it's contagious. When you speak about it with humility, it's contagious. It spreads through more than just more or less the same migzar. How do you say migzar? Demographic, yeah. And he said, it still is just, even though it's the right ratzon, but we still, again, haven't experienced to be able to share the besorah of what we know to be the emet in a way that will really infiltrate into the rest of the Am. So now if I plug maybe a word besides Hashem, a word that's missing from the description of what the energy of these events should be, what should be the word? Anava. How do you now share this Besora that the Am wants to go back and resettle Gaza and wants to change over all the mishagas that's going on in this country for so long? If you continue with the way that it's been until now, that didn't prevent the Hitnatkut, that didn't prevent Oslo, that didn't prevent all these horrific things happening in this country. But if you really want to have a chance for it to really be a Besora for the whole country, and malasot, you have to have the Baal Shem Tov as part of the Ruach that's leading it. You have to have anava. Anava doesn't mean, bless you, anava doesn't mean we don't know anything, we hope that what we're saying may be right, may be true, maybe we're wrong. It's not that. You could say things with utter conviction, but when they come from a place of humility, what you're doing is you're bringing in more of the Am. And if our inyan is to be able to create a buzz / critical mass that's more than just a migzar, a demographic, which is what's needed, because look at the tension that's been happening between demographics. It brought about how many elections in the last few years? 4, right? 4 different elections, and it's going to continue to bring another and many more elections like this. You have to conquer the Am. You'd think, I know, al pi seichel, you'd think that after what happened in Simchas Torah, 95% of the Am would probably be with you at rallies like this. It's shocking that it isn't, but it's not. Because the soul of the Am is waiting for Ruach Gedolayoter, a greater spirit. Not a louder spirit, a humble spirit. That's what it's waiting for. So when I looked at this tzaddik that said to me these words, it really, for me, was like very eye-opening, very mind-altering and very eye-opening. and even pushes me more to feel that the way to do what's needed must be through pnimius avodah shebenefesh. It's got to be from consciousness and awareness in the soul of humbling ourselves and saying what we think should happen. Of course, we don't lead balbel. No one's confused about what should happen down there. But no one has still admitted that they still don't know how to get what's really needed, which is the to be behind that which we know to be the truth. So what good is it going to be if we keep on knowing the right thing, what to do, without conquering the spirit of the which is more than just a few thousand right-wing religious Jews. That's still not gonna. It's not gonna tilt. It won't tilt it yet. I'm sorry, you mochel me. No, you don't represent them.
When he was getting out of the Nile, he was supposed to stand over him, right? And there's no room to have anava, the theoretical sense of anava then.
By Paro,
exactly. And I think that that's an important distinction to make. That anava isn't like we have a Western sense of what anava means, but that's not what it is.
It's good what you're saying.
It's not about us. Then we can actually stand up to America and to the West and to the world. Because we have anava, it gives us the strength to actually be really strong, because it's not about us.
Very good. But as long as it's about us, I have to take into consideration all the different paros of the world. Yeah. It's very good what you're saying.
How do you reconcile that anava with the gionut of Torah, the gionut of who we are in the world? Like that's.
I do too, and I struggle with that also. It's a very big, important point what you're saying. You hear what he brought up? Like, what happens here? Like, listen, that's why it's probably the hardest midah to truly conquer in its emes, like mamash emet la'amito. This is stuff you have to. You'll never just understand this rationally or logically, intellectually. This stuff you have to daven over and cry over.
We're the best. Everything that we have is on a genius level. We know that, right? This is, I think.
No, but he said gionut of Torah.
Yeah.
Right. From the Torah.
From the Torah.
Everything about us. All of our.
We're just here to transmit it. It's not from us, so we're just transmitting.
Yeah, but do you know how fast? You know how easy it is to one kind of leveling and the filtering gets lost, and it becomes about you so fast.
Yeah.
You need such tefillahs. Such tefillah v'lo taveinu de nisayon doesn't just mean make sure I don't see a beautiful woman that may give me bad thoughts. Nisayon means also don't let me get lost while I'm on the journey of a holy journey, doing righteous things, and get lost for a second into forgetting that it's not me. That's a much harder nisayon. Much harder nisayon. To see something I shouldn't see is not such a nisayon, because when I do it, I feel bad. I know it's wrong. It's not such a test. To forget while I'm through the gionut of the Torah, hopefully operating and conducting myself, to get lost over there is much, 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 much harder to detect.
Sorry to interrupt. A good example is sometimes gaiva is the shortcut to like making something happen faster or stronger.
I'm sorry. I can't hear. And he's right next to me, and I can't hear. Yeah.
I'm saying sometimes gaiva is the shortcut to making something happen faster and stronger. When you bring your ego into it,
Mamash.
Sometimes you're able to force something towards someone else or for someone else when you push your ego forward.
There's a lot of examples based on that we could see, but I think that it's important for us to be able to come before Hashem right now in front of ourselves and say, Kadosh Baruch Hu, look, in this room, I don't think anyone has to be convinced that we have to wipe out the enemy. There's no one's confused about that. We're also not confused in this room about the fact that wiping out the enemy does not just mean militants that we're actually killing and raping and beheading. It's much more than that. And today, when people are showing footage of Yishmaelim that are saying, down with the Hamas, look what you've done to us. That same, like we said on Monday, it's clear to us that same chevra would have paraded over our dead bodies if they could. There's no confusion about that. There's no confusion amongst the critical mass regarding the enemy and regarding the settlement of the land. There's no confusion there. But what's lacking from there, from that whole world?
Where's it coming from?
Where is it? How do I share that besora with the world? How do I, in what name do I speak about that? Because if it just continues to be very convinced people that are very dedicated and committed, we're still going to be traveling as a separated people. Now, it doesn't mean that I need to absorb all the... Anava doesn't mean, let me take in everything that he says and all these warped and godless ideas about the Zionist entity. Anava is, I'm sure I have what to learn from that. That's not what it means either. Anava means, in this context, is that I detect the darkness, see that it's coming from within, and do daven to Hashem, let me make space for the light that exists by all the people surrounding me, inside of me, by removing my gaiva, removing my ego, and operating only out of humility. Can you imagine if we were able to share that which we know to be completely true, and emet, and right and just, but in the name of what it would sound like if it came out with anava? Can you imagine what that conference would have sounded like if the guy's getting up? Why do you have to get up on stage and start screaming things that everyone agrees with you on? I didn't understand it. Every single person in that room agrees with you. Who are you screaming to? Who are you screaming to? Everyone agrees in that room. Everyone agreed with each other. At all these gatherings, everyone already agrees in those places. It's going to take more than that to conquer the heart of the people, which is much more than just the people that think like you already. The way we conquer it is through anava amitit, anava tehora, like real, pure, clean humility, where you don't have to scream, you don't have to raise your voice. You know exactly what needs to be done, and there's no confusion about that. But the way that you convey that message is with so much anava, so much humility. The people that have been most mashping on our lives weren't people that screamed at us or told us their truth with a finger in our face. It was their contagious love and humility that really went into our kishkas, that really did it. The leader that has to scream, there are times where he has to scream when he already has his own flock, and they're already with him, and they're just not getting the messages. They're under the assumption they get the message. But right now, we don't have that critical mass. It may seem like it at a Sunday night in Yerushalayim, but it's much bigger. The critical mass that he's speaking about is much larger, and it can only be reached through if we understand what it means to have anava in a process like this, which is, listen, we're talking about very complicated things. It's very, very hard. It's very easy to have anava when you're like in a or like, if you're talking about like, okay, you should have anava when you're an artist or musician, and remember, be humble. It's always about Hashem that gave you the talents, and don't let it get to you. But when you're in war and your physicality, you're so immersed, fully immersed in what you're doing, and you're working yourself like crazy physically through Olam HaGashmi, and remembering dafka at those moments, it's only because Hashem gave you this, it's much harder. We're speaking about a very hard thing to accomplish. Yeah.
I just wanted to address what Shlomo asked, like the Jews, we are smart and brilliant, and the army and the technology and the Torah. So what do we do there? So the next pasuk actually gives the answer. It says, you're going to say in your heart, my strength and my power made me this success. And then it says, V'zacharta et Hashem Elohecha ki hu hanoten lecha koach la'asot chayim. That's it. That's the anava. Not to say like, no, I'm not smart or I'm not a genius. It's like, no, amarta b'levavecha. You should say, you should know, Am Yisrael is blessed. We're brilliant and we're strong and we're brave. But who gave us the brilliance? Who gave us the koach? Just to remember, that is the essence of anava. Not to diminish ourselves, to recognize, to even say it. We are amazing, but Hashem is the one that made us amazing.
Yaniv, this is so connected to what we learned yesterday. The Madhim. We have a Charus and Michtav Medel from Rav Dessler, and he was speaking exactly about this regarding a person, how they could look at Teva and Metzias, the different types of people that look at nature, how they experience any financial success in their life, or how they don't. And it's two different worlds. Okay, now let's go weiter. Let's look ahead. There's something.
Before I continue,
Yeah.
if we all believe כל מה דרחמנא עביד לטבע עביד,
Yeah.
no problem. Just take the ga'ava, take everything. If we have to believe in that.
Nachon. Ari.
Can you give like one or two examples of what should have been said at like conference that just happened on Sunday?
Can I give
You
one?
said that they missed the boat.
I think the greatest example I can give is that I would get up on stage and say, I actually don't know what really needs to be said here. That's how I would start.
Also tefillah. There was not one tefillah.
I would cry to him. I don't, you know. I would stand, for instance, silence of Ribono Shel Olam. I'd probably say the words Ribono Shel Olam like 20 times. That's probably how I would start. You see, the logical, rational mind always needs information in order to decipher whether what they're in for is right or wrong. But the soul doesn't need words. The soul actually needs to hear a nigun of I don't know. Meaning, I know I want this to happen, but I have no idea, Hashem, how to figure this all out. And as long as the tzibur that is representing Dvar Hashem thinks that they have it fixed, while they see that most of the Am is not with them, it's scary. And it's, in my humble opinion, mefasfesim nekuda. What you want, what this chevra wants, what we want, of course we believe it's true and it's emes and it has to be. It has to be. It has to be. They can't be here. It has to be. They can't be here. Yifsham. But if I'm just a das yachid that ends up screaming that the rest of my life, then the fact that I know, what does my knowledge do for me? Nothing. Look at the second to bottom paragraph. Kama meduyak te'ur ha-metziut hazeh. How exact is the description of this reality? מתוך החושך הרוחני שאנו הולכים בו, אנו מוצאים את עצמנו יושבים בארץ בה שורר צל המוות. He's saying from within this spiritual darkness that we exist in, where Gaiva is patrolling everything, we find ourselves sitting in a country where the tzel of mavis, where the shadow of death hovers over. הטרור הרצחני המאיים בכל פינה. There's murder waiting on every street corner. Listen, there's 3 more Shiva homes today. One beautiful person, my age, 5 children, freaked the daylights out of me. From Kfar Etzion, his parents live in Migdal Oz. Was killed yesterday. But forget about just there, because that's a war zone. Isn't it? We're so accustomed to it. But do you realize how crazy the reality that we live in? That we've just accepted the fact that there's murder all around us? It's insane that we've accepted it. What kind of darkness could lead a person to accepting that this exists? I got it under control. We know what you don't know. בדיוק. אך הנביא, but the prophet, הנביא מבשרנו, שעל ידי פעולת התיקון עצמה, עוד כשהולכים בחושך, בטרם השלמתה נראה אור גדול. But he says like this, but the prophet tells us before, when we saw the pasuk ha'ama הולכים בחושך, he's saying, I could still be in a place where the terror is still around me, and I haven't wiped everything out, and I haven't fixed it all. But if I make space inside of me to realize all my atzlachas are only from Hashem, and maybe I have no idea what I'm talking about, that's the moment you begin to see a way to truly bring light to the situation, and not this cycle of insanity. Only an insane people would agree to live like we're living. Where does this insanity come from? Kochi ve'otzam yadi. Like the next pasuk that Jeremy quoted. Forgetting. V'shachachta ki Hashem Elokecha hu hanoten lecha koach. Forgetting that. Ve'im me'at min ha'or megaresh harbe min ha'choshech, al achat kama v'chama kshe'or gadol tir'ena eineinu. If just a little bit of light is able to abolish and expel a little bit of darkness, can you imagine how much more light can expel more and more darkness? So it's beautiful. We're dancing in Binyanei Oman, but it's a candle. It's just a candle. It needs to be. Can you imagine if the whole country was filled with emesdik, a holy Jewish pride? Jewish pride that remembers that it's only Hashem that gave them any zchut or koach to be able to function on any single level, on anything. What light we'd be talking about. It'd be a different story. Be mashu acher. Yeah.
There's a quick question. I don't know if it's like makes sense, but do you feel like the whole idea of the whole conference, I don't know what it was, but that in itself was the lack of anava. Why? Because if the ultimate goal is to include all of Klal Yisrael, by us doing that, we're just pointing fingers at or causing disruption to the people that we want to bring in. You know, meaning the people who protest in the street for whatever they're protesting for is doing the opposite of what they're trying to accomplish. You catch a bee with honey. And instead of like just creating conferences where they look at us like fanatics, we should be, you know, dancing in the streets, hugging, kissing, whatever.
I got a lot of negative feedback when I posted just what I thought was a relatively inclusive thing with the video. Like guys that are friends of mine from the army, like so the lefties were
right.
A lot of negativity.
What was the notion? What was the tone of it?
You mentioned it yesterday. It was similar tone. Like there's Hatufim still in Gaza, and you're dancing, and you're singing, and you're talking about going and destroying. It was just like a lot of just
but you know what?
and resentment.
If they heard the anava vibe from it, they would have been so happy that people are dancing to the words of Du'e Hashem Yeshuvun Uvaot Zion Berina. They're looking at it from the outside because it wasn't presented from the inside. It was presented from the outside. But if you present something from the inside, the same exact things could have taken place, but it would have made a different roshem on them.
I think that's what you were saying before. When Ari asked you what you would say, I don't think it would matter what you say. If it comes from a place of anava, it'll impact.
Yeah. Nachon. It
Look
will.
at me, look at me, look at me.
It'll get me exactly.
Much louder than what you say.
How many times have we been? Yeah. Even more than how you say it. Yeah. That's what David's saying. Meaning, like exactly how you say what you say. Meaning, from what place you take, you get what you say. But this piece of Tikkun Medina, this is not the way that most people are comfortable with, because they're saying no. The whole place is on fire. This whole world has pashut lost its mind, and in order to balance it out, you got to lose your mind completely on the other side. Like the Rambam speaks about balancing, right? About derech hamemutza, eventually getting to the derech hamemutza. So, I think maybe the whole world has lost its mind with pride.
They've idealized pride. Now there's parades. It's like made an erech elyon.
Correct, but I'll challenge you right now. That's great. I see that darkness. What is, based on what Rav Ginsburg's saying, I'm supposed to do with that information? You're pointing a finger. I'm calling you out because I love you. You understand? And I know you don't care. So you're pointing a finger at something that none of us are under the assumption is holy. You see? It's 100% true what you said. Great. Where do I go now?
That means he has gaiva in him. If you saw that,
I'm asking right now. What do I do with this? What do I do with that piece of truth? What you just said.
Well, I think if we say the ikar of the problem is gaiva in our society, I'm so smart in my technology.
Kochi ve'otzam yadi. Yeah, kochi ve'otzam
And
yadi.
we're saying, like, Am Yisrael right now in the mainstream has taken gaiva and made it an erech elyon. And we're really in trouble. It's
like Prager, like Dennis Prager says, you raped the word rape.
Exactly.
Which is what progressive nachon. It's astara shebetoch ha'astara.
But I'm saying like we're really in an Indian here because there's like blocks.
I'm saying what has to become more important to us is that shouldn't be the way things are in Eretz HaKodesh, as opposed to making sure everyone knows that they're tamei. Do you see the distance between the two? I want to clarify it. I say the same thing about myself when I say something that's ugly, and that's wrong and everything. It doesn't necessarily mean I'm so wrong. I'm so off. But Rav Ginsburg is saying the ability to transform that darkness into light can only be a realistic thing in my life if I go inside right away and I don't keep focusing on looking at what's out there. That's klal by the Baal Shem HaKadosh. That has to be the way. How do I do that? By being an anav and removing gaiva, thinking that I've cracked the code as to what's the best way to live as a Jew. That there's something in me. It's not exactly he said it's a ishtakfut, it's a reflection of something. But I can only even find out what that is in me if I'm able to remove from all the kochi ve'otzem yadi energy that goes on in my life. And maybe it's there somewhere else. And then the way I speak about Hashem, the way I speak about Eretz Yisrael will be so contagious, so beautifully contagious from a place of anava. More than half of the things that I look outside of me that are dark will crumble. Will crumble. It won't even be a war. It won't even be a war.
Could it be that we're supposed to be giving bracha? Meaning, sometimes I feel like a lot of the hatred and resentment that's facing Am Yisrael is from a deep place of subconscious resentment against us, that we're not giving bracha to the world, that we're not blessing them. Because when you don't bless someone, it's from a place of fear and reactivity. But what the ultimate proactivity is to bless people, to find that goodness within them and elevate that and bless them.
Of course. So how does that change my avodat hanefesh? Tikkun Medina. Maybe, okay, I'm plugging you back into Turk. Ari, this is good. Because maybe I would start off the conference maybe by saying, Ribono Shel Olam, it's through us and the brachas that are through us that the whole world is supposed to be blessed. The world is gone to the monkeys. Not even the monkeys. The world has lost its brain. So Ribono Shel Olam, in order for your whole world, your whole creation to be healthy again, we need to feel that, we need to see a great light of blessing us with chokhmah, bina, vadat, and tvuna like never before. Leman shmo be'ahava. Yeah.
Even our enemies, we should be giving bracha to them. Doesn't mean we don't fight them to the death.
But a bracha to them could be that their tikkun is to be killed, like we spoke about. Nachon, whatever.
But we can still have a tefillah and a bracha that we should be able to get them to the level where we're able to. No, only after we mamashech them.
There's an Indian to stay alive. I've been having these conversations with a lot of people.
Believe me, I'm not.
No, you're the last person. I know, but I'm saying is like there's one prerequisite to do any of this work, and that is to stay physically alive in order to do any of this. But the ultimate goal has to always be in my consciousness. Leman das kol amei haaretz ki Hashem hu Elokim ein od milvado. That's such an anavdika statement, Leman dat kol amei haaretz ki Hashem hu Elokim ein od milvado. Yeah, Eli.
I have a feeling that the soldiers are going to come back and be the ones to have the anivas to teach and talk to us about this.
And I bless us with kalim to humble ourselves before their experience and their realization.
About us who are already somewhat a kli. I'm talking about the Klaisa.
Amen. Listen, Rav Sasson has a very important shir I'm going to send out to everyone. And it's talking about understanding the gvura of a chayal that's willing to walk into fire. What happens to a person that consciously chooses to do such a thing? When you choose to walk into fire, you stop being an individual person. You become a neshama klalit. Because you're walking into the fire, not for one person. You're walking into fire, into harm's way, for a klal, for everyone. Now, once you've done that, and when you're killed al kiddush Hashem, your neshama goes to the highest place in Shamayim. But when you do that and you stay alive, you're a transformed person. Your mitzias is a completely different mitzias. It is dafka those neshamas that subconsciously or consciously have chosen to do that they need to be around the most anavdika Yiddishkeit in the world, because they're also prone to go to the place of kochi ve'osim yadi asali asachayel in the greatest way as well. That's how we have generations of political leadership of people that were high in the army, that did a lot of these things, that weren't surrounded by any pnimiyas dika, anavdika Yiddishkeit. So went to the side of Kochi ve'otzem yadi asaris ha'chayil hazeh, and ended up, those same people ended up giving back parts of Eretz Yisrael and bringing in those Amalek Accords and changing the whole reality because they weren't around Yidden that can speak about the light of Hashem in a completely mevutal way. So I agree with the potential of what you're saying, but I think it's even more of us to surround ourselves with these giborim, with Hakaras HaTov, like Baruch Hashem we're very good at, and infinite Hakaras HaTov, and for them to look at us, with the chaver that maybe don't look like us or don't look at us, for them to look at us with wondrous eyes of Einod Milvado, we are just we're in awe before the moment that we're standing before, and with those chayalim that became neshamot klaliot by going into the fire, keep on going mala mala, that'll be the greatest tikkun on so many levels in this country, so many levels. You understand? They became already neshama klaliot. They were willing to go into the fire. The question is, what are they surrounded with afterwards? Are they surrounded by, okay, now that you experienced that, come and join us. We're the smart ones that have been holding on to the truth the whole time. You won't get anybody. You'll actually push people more to the other side, and they may end up being the heads of the Shabak. You understand?
Not if they actually serve.
Oh, so actually they won't because they were in the army, right?
There's a little taiva to say, I told you so.
Of course.
I've been thinking
Of
about it.
course.
I was thinking about making
There's such a taiva to say, I told you so. You hear that? You hear what Ari just said? It is so, and this is really a gut check to us, Chavra. There's such a taiva to say, I told you so. And that has to be uprooted in its source, in its root.
Are we 100% sure that it needs to be uprooted?
The taiva to say, I told you so?
Because I'm getting the taiva, and it feels like there's some kedusha in it. Because it's not about the I part of it.
He's
The
being
told
real,
you
he's
so
being
part.
real. Go do his bodhidus, but go ask Hashem.
I'll just tell you, I have the video of me being carried out, right? And saying, why are thousands of people in Am Yisrael, we haven't said I told you so because it's rude and it's unpleasant, but we're doing it again. We saw, this is what led to this, we're doing it again.
Will it change anything?
Probably not.
So there you have your answer. Or will even your holy ego feel a bit better? Yeah, I know. It's hard, truth. That was a great exercise. Chevron, we're on our way. Shekayach, everybody.